Today's horror film is brought to you by the letter C, which I'm dedicating to my good friend John Carlson, whose favorite film is The Class of Nuke High from 1986.
I got an idea! We can call it an atomic high. Then we can charge the kids more money for it. Yeah!
All I need is a TV show. The format is real sickening.
So this is the release from Troma from 2010, which I believe is now out of print. I've customized all of my Troma films with these cool not lenticular, but neon green cases. I'm also going to just show you briefly parts 2 and 3 here, which I'm not reviewing. I'll tell you, just because I don't really care for them, and don't ask me why I still feel the need to own them. Right, but this release here has a smorgasbord of Troma delights, commentary, interviews, and some lost scenes that were used as alternate shots for when it aired on USA Up All Night back in the 90s. And on top of that, I've also purchased an old Japanese VHS copy of the film years ago, just because I thought it looked kind of cool. Usually stuff from the Orient piques my interest in terms of their the way they interpret films. So, but you look at, they're basically the same covers, not much different to it. This one's obviously older. The Class of Nuke High is a goofball horror comedy from Lloyd Kaufman, coming straight off the success of The Toxic Avenger. The movie begins when the class nerd drinks some contaminated water. Dewey is the lad's name, and pretty soon he begins acting very strangely.
Dewey? You little faggot here! Off the knee!
Story concerns Chrissy and Warren, two young lovebirds caught in the midst of urban decay. The student body is running afoul of the Cretans. The main guys from the gang are called Spike, Pete, and Gonzo, a group of former honor roll students who have taken a turn for the worse with the ingestion of toxic-laced marijuana from the nearby nuclear power plant.
I cannot believe how fast this shit grows out here!
After his friend Eddie cops some of the wacky weed, the crew go to a frat party where they puff on the joint.
Oh, yeah!
I feel sick.
Yeah, me too.
It's ruined! I don't believe it!
Chrissy starts feeling the effects of the high almost immediately, and she and Warren go for a roll in the hay. Later that night, the two of them experience hallucinations within their dreams. Warren pitches a tent the size of a refrigerator that would make John Holmes jealous, while Chrissy is experiencing adverse side effects that mimic a frightful pregnancy. But the two snap out of it and realize that it was just a dream. Or was it? The next day, when Warren comes home from school, all of the electrical appliances in his house start going nuts.
People like to say, yo, wake up, kids. Wake up now. One day you have to leave the world.
Coincidence? The leader of the gang, Spike, and his second in command, Pete, are hurting for some money. So they come up with a brilliant plan to fake an epileptic seizure with some Alka-Seltzer.
Oh, you could save a life. Thank you. Thank you. Shut up!
After getting their score, Warren comes strolling around the corner, but something doesn't seem quite right about him.
Now, don't you use that Alka-Seltzer gag on me, asshole. It's already been done.
Warren wakes up, having no recollection of what happened. At school, Chrissy is not feeling quite right either. She regurgitates her and Warren's love child. After passing out, she is taken to the hospital, where she too cannot recollect what happened earlier that day. Back at school, Warren catches the cretins trying to push more of the toxic weed on the students and breaks it up.
You're not gonna poison any more kids! Get out of here, kid! Don't mess with this stuff, it's poison!
He gets in a fight with the gang. A teacher shows up and puts a stop to the fighting.
Drop that phone!
The gang has a chat with the principal, who decides to expel them.
Whatever we want.
Not in my school, you can't! Try and stop us.
We'll be back.
We're the youth of today.
At the gang's home base in the junkyard, they come up with a plan.
With Warren and the school all at the same time.
How?
How? Maybe this will give you an idea.
They roll up to the school and snatch Chrissy and hold her hostage in the basement. The gang also break into the principal's office and push the emergency evacuation button. And the school breaks into pandemonium.
Give that to him. He'll believe you.
For a piece of personal recognition, they take her necklace, smother it in blood, and then present it to Warren.
Find out whether it's safe or not to go inside the building.
Chrissy!
And this sets up the montage for one of the most glorious school trashings ever caught on film. Warren goes down to the basement and finds Spike with Chrissy.
Chrissy!
Before he can save her, their monster child has fallen into a barrel of toxic waste, transforming into a hideous creature. In the midst of the chaos, Warren and Chrissy slip away, while the monster kills off most of the gang. Trapped in the chemistry lab, it looks like Warren and Chrissy are doomed, but then the monster comes out of the trenches. Indiscriminate of its prey, the monster grabs Chrissy and Warren has to act fast. With only seconds remaining, they make it out of school just in time before it explodes. Immediately thereafter, there is an announcement.
Can I have your attention, please? Your attention, please. Tromaville High School will be temporarily closed for remodeling.
And with that, the movie ends with cleanup of the demolished school, and all should be back to normal, but Class of Nuke 'Em High is a total guilty pleasure of mine. I loved watching it on USA Up All Night back in the 1990s and devouring all of the trash movies that they used to play on there. The movie is completely of bad taste, but I cannot deny my enjoyment of it. You've got to love the outrageousness of all the titles in the Troma catalog. And if you don't believe me, check out their website to see more of them. The movie itself features a pretty decent special effects considering what a low budget it is. Admittedly, the acting is dismal and there's numerous continuity errors, but based on its own merits, Class of Nuke 'Em High will entertain those who like a little lowbrow humor from time to time. A good chunk of the cast of the movie was transferred from the Toxic Avenger, so it was good to see and watch some of the quirky characters from that movie assume similar roles in this movie, but put into a different storyline. It was also great to see all my old haunts back in Jersey City, where I lived briefly in my mid-20s. The grunge and the unsavoriness of it comes right through. And the problem with the sequels, in my opinion, is that they attempt to inject more humor into them and less of a horror element, which is probably why I don't care for them, because comedy is not necessarily my favorite genre. But as is, Class of Nuke 'Em High Part 1 is not Citizen Kane either, but you'll notice there's a difference in the tone of this when compared to its sequels. That's all for this time. We'll see you next time when we go to the movies.